All right, we'll do a brief little history corner. Quentin Tarantino was 30 years old when he made Pulp Fiction, and he grew up in Los Angeles. He worked at the Video Archives video store in Manhattan Beach alongside his future Pulp Fiction collaborator, Roger Avery. And when we did the Summer of Spielberg earlier this year, we were talking a lot about Steven Spielberg and his community of filmmaker friends. And Tarantino had like his own version of that in the 80s, only this was centered in the video store. And it was this interesting transition period in which, VHS kind of knocked down the gatekeepers of sort of traditional film culture. And now all of film history is available to you. And it's like, I've always appreciated his like, Jean-Luc Godard movies are important, but also spaghetti westerns are important and kung fu movies are important. And, things that older film critics would have, tutted at. It's all great. And I think that's like the key to why his movies are so fun, why he loves it so much is because he just loves all of it so much.
I should have known he was a video store guy. I feel he's got to be a collector. Kev, don't you just, anyone that works in a video store has to also be a physical media collector. Like he feels like my kind of guy, and that makes me feel a little weird and a little happy.
Oh, big time.
I'd have a beer with him, but he would never shut up.
Oh, yeah.
They the people he worked at the video store with, not just Roger Avery, but like their plan was all they're going to make movies. They're not going to go to film school, and it didn't quite work out for anybody but Tarantino and Avery. The history the source is from this book I've referenced all the time on the show, Down and Dirty Pictures by Peter Biskin, which is a chronicle
Miramax?
of the Miramax of the Sun, basically independent film scene in the 90s, exploding out of Sundance, and in large part exploding because of Quentin Tarantino and Reservoir Dogs. Quote, Tarantino was the avatar of a new wave of filmmakers raised on video as opposed to the so-called movie brats of the 1970s who went to film school and were weaned on the greats of world cinema. It goes on, Roger Avery, a former friend and writing partner who also worked at the Video Archives, said, before video, I would rent 16 millimeter prints and read cinema books. You'd hear about movies described as if they were mythology. Every now and then one would breeze through town and I'd rush out to see it. That's if I could get in. When video came along, all of a sudden you had a database of 20,000 titles. One day I realized, what am I doing? Why go to film school to listen to somebody lecture about film in the old style when you can sit around for 8 or 10 hours a day and discuss movies with your friends? That was the greatest film school any of us could ever have.
I take that for granted. It did not occur to me that video stores were this big, like, they were the internet. I mean, it's just this big barrier busting moment. They only ever existed for me. So I feel very young right now.
Well, and what sucks is, you're like, well, we have the internet now. We have Film Talk. We have online film communities. But going to a physical place, being with people in person,
right,
and having somebody like literally have a conversation about what you like and what they think you might like. And movies as physical objects, I just really feel like something has been lost.
I mean, Friday nights at Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. I mean, that was the spot. Everybody was in there.
True.
I just like so there's someone telling us that we're going there, like this, just like flutter.
Yeah, I know it activates something in you.
Yeah, it does,
like, even now.
And you got to get at least 2 because you're going to pick the wrong one. And I love that there was no internet because I just went off of fucking art, which I end up doing for a living, but like I love the emotion and the freaking lies you can get away with just art.
Cover art.
Yeah.
Cover art, sorry, yes. And it just, So, but I'm never sad for watching a shitty movie. At least it well rounds me.
Matt, if you go back 2 slides, I do think there's a quote that I think that we should talk about. I think it started off with, there it is, or one more. I didn't go to film school. I went to films.
Yes.
And I just think, I think that's something remarkable and something of note because one of my favorite directors is, I didn't know that about Tarantino. I assumed he went to film school just because of how good his films are. But one of my favorite directors is, of course, Christopher Nolan. He didn't go to film school either. And, like he was getting at when you said later that, sitting around with your buddies watching films and then like discussing it, that's what they're doing in film school. I mean, they're learning the technical aspects of it as well. But, that's how you decide what makes a good movie and the kind of things that you want to see. So I think that was just something that we
Yeah,
needed to point out to the listeners and viewers.
he is literally saying like, he's like, why would I pay the money for the tuition? Like the way to learn is to just go do it, go make the movie.
Yes.
Christopher Nolan literally went out and made his movie following, and that's how he learned.
I always say that about podcasts. Everyone's so precious about it. It's like, no, just fucking do it. You need to sit in a chair. You just need to do it. You need to do it on a relatively consistent time frame, and you just need to get good at hearing yourself talk and learning what not to say. It's just
Lacey, you sound like Kevin in the beginning. You sound like Kevin.
Yeah, because everyone asks us how to start a podcast, and I just say start. You just got to get in the habit of, and the first few are going to be total fucking crap, and you'll just start to realize what you're missing and what maybe less fighting. Maybe a script. Yeah.
As you're talking about this video era days, the funding for this, have you looked into that too? Because the funding for this movie was interesting.
Yeah, yes, I will get to that.
Oh,
Yeah,
Kevin.
go ahead.
Oh, Kevin.
Because I was about to geek out. I was about to geek out over that too. It's crazy.
Do it. Let's
Go
geek.
ahead.
So he met the producer Lawrence Bender in 1990, and he encouraged him to write his spec script for Reservoir Dogs. And they brought aboard Harvey Keitel as both an actor and a producer. They shop the script around town. Everybody likes it, but nobody thinks it has commercial potential. But eventually they produce it. It's financed by Live Entertainment, which eventually becomes Artisan Entertainment. And then Harvey Keitel puts up a lot of the money himself. Like Quentin Tarantino's career
Fucking wolf.
maybe doesn't happen if not for Harvey Keitel. He's like his original champion.
Okay.
That's crazy.
And he's just the best. Just watching him in Pulp Fiction, just like you are. There's no one better.
And you're buying that patience. And now I'm thinking, this is why this motherfucker has spent hours talking to Quentin Tarantino. He has patience.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they go to Sundance in 1992. The movie screens. It's like the talk of the festival, and eventually gets purchased by the Weinsteins at Miramax. And Harvey Weinstein, before he became synonymous with the Me Too movement, with systematic sexual abuse, he was known as Harvey Scissorhands. He will cut your movie to ribbons. He'll talk a big game to you. He's your best friend, but then he'll go and take it to his focus groups, and they're like, yeah, we cut out 35 minutes of your movie. We know what to do.
He will SA your movie.
And Quentin Tarantino basically fought him tooth and nail to preserve his cut. And eventually Weinstein relented. He's like, all right, but this movie isn't going to go anywhere. But they released it as is. The big contention was Weinstein didn't want the Michael Madsen torturing and cutting off the guy's ear scene.
Oh yeah, we can't have anything inappropriate, Harvey Weinstein.
Which is right.
Yeah.
But that's like the scene in the movie.
Right.
But they release it. It becomes a huge hit. And in some ways, it's like the indie movie of the Sundance era of like, you go to Sundance, you find these neat and interesting little movies, you buy them, you put them out.
Neat.
These movies that are made outside of the traditional Hollywood studio system, and they can be just as successful as traditional studio movies.
I wanted to say that about film school too. That's the little hidden treasure is you go to film school, everyone's talking about the same films. You do it this way, you're getting such a diverse perspective. You're getting the insight and the little edge that you need to be different. He is different. There's a reason. He's more seasoned. I have no more rhymes for you.
You was cooking though. You was cooking.
No, I was
So he's working on, so Reservoir Dogs is a big hit and it makes his name, and it's now like, what are you going to do next? He's working on his follow-up and he's being courted by the major studios, but he wanted to go back to a project he was developing with Roger Avery earlier, Pulp Fiction, where the idea was it would be a trilogy of stories. Be like 3 independent stories that kind of weave in and out and maybe butt up against each other. But initially the idea was 3 different directors would direct each of the sequences. But eventually it evolves into what it is today, Pulp Fiction. He and Avery went to Amsterdam and wrote the first draft of the movie.
That explains all the Amsterdam talk in this damn movie.
And then it ended up in the hands.
Research.
Right.
Yeah, got it.
It ended up in the hands of another very important figure in Tarantino's history, and that is Danny DeVito.
What?
Whose company Jersey Films signed Tarantino to a development deal to finance and produce Pulp Fiction.
This is what I'm talking about triggering me. Why this? Why? This fucking picture, man.
Because it's the Penguin. Oswald Cobblepot.
Whatever.
The season finale of The Penguin is on right now, and we're missing it. That's
SEO, baby. Just keep saying The Penguin.
Don't remind me.
Don't check your phone.
And Jersey Films had a deal with Columbia TriStar. They greenlit Pulp Fiction, but then they backed out because they thought it was too controversial.
Idiots.
But Danny DeVito's deal with Miramax was that he would get final cut and he would get to approve the casting. And
he wanted wraparound narration like Matilda. That's the only thing he wanted to add.
No, he did what
Chubby Bunny was such a smart girl. All right, I'm sorry.
he did what great producers do, and he gave that to the director. So,
Good.
Tarantino, you get final cut and you get to approve the casting. And they negotiated a budget of $8.5 million. Like, what's the highest amount of money we can get from you where we don't have to take your notes? So that's the $8.5 million, a pretty low budget for a movie like this. Kevin, what did you have on the financing?
Give it a...
So really, this the TriStar thing was really interesting to me because they thought it was so vile and they wanted nothing to do with it. They didn't like the heroin use and the violence. So I just think that like when Harvey Weinstein looked at it, like the fact that he didn't cut anything, I was like, that's interesting. Like the fact he read the script and was like, no, this is brilliant. And when you think about it, it's Miramax. I'm like, wait, Pulp Fiction is technically a Disney movie? What?
Oh yeah, this is a Disney movie. Yeah, Mickey Mouse, is in this.
Yeah, but it's cool that everybody got paid the same for this movie, which I thought was interesting.
I love that.
Because you have John Travolta, Bruce Willis, who were
Right.
already mega stars, and then they basically got paid the same, but everybody received profits from the film off the success of it.
Mhm.
And Bruce Willis, this was kind of like a way to bring him back because at the time, like his movies were struggling. Like he had Striking Distance, Death Becomes Her, The Player, like these films that just weren't doing well at the box office. So the fact that like this is the film that kind of revived his career in a way,
Right.
where he's not even the main character, was just really cool.
He had like so many up and downs just in the 90s alone. He has like 3 different peaks. Like he has his early 90s run, he has this, and then he goes back down again and then comes back up with Armageddon and
I'm here
The
for all
Sixth
of
Sense.
it. I'm here for all of it, Bruce. You just call me.
All right, just going to do a quick overview of Travolta and Jackson.
Look at that man.
Tarantino idolized John Travolta because of Saturday Night Fever and because of Blowout, but he thought, John
then he-
Travolta, you didn't have the career you deserve to have commensurate with.
Then did he meet him and change his mind and go, you're fucking weird as shit?
No, he said like they had like an 8-hour conversation.
I'll bet they did on coke, on so much coke in Amsterdam.
And you can watch footage of John Travolta talking about this, and like it's clear he is so moved.
Like, oh my God.
Because John Travolta was in such a bad point of his career. The only success he had basically had was the Look Who's Talking movies. But he comes out with Saturday Night Fever and Grease, and then kind
Guess
of
who's in those?
who?
Butch.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis. I've never seen those movies.
What?
Yeah, no, you know this.
It's okay. You don't have to see them.
Shut
you're
up,
not gonna do
Isaiah.
anything.
I
You
cannot
shut your
stand them.
dirty mouth.
All right, well, Isaiah, we'll have you on for that episode when we
Oh,
do it.
please do. You're
already
going to
cutting
find out
people
I
out.
am merciless, apparently, against kids, as they say.
Oh, that's Matt. Matt fucking
I
hates
like
children.
that. I like that.
He hates kids.
Yeah, kids in movies piss me off.
Yeah.
Piss him off.
And then movies that are about just little kids, like the Look Who's Talking. I'm like, this is
Like
unnecessary.
Little Rascals? You want to talk about
Okay,
Little Rascals right now?
Little
10
Rascals,
minutes?
I'll let Little Rascals pass. I'll let that one pass. That one, for some reason, I love. But Baby
No,
Genius. is
you know what
almost
we
that
did?
Because they act like adults. You love it because they act like adults in that movie.
No, these movies, they're fine for children, but we did a little thing called Grow Up.
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
Now we watch serious stuff.
Say it, Matt. Say it. Preach it, brother. Preach it.
The role was written for Michael Madsen as Vincent, but
I'm already sick of them.
after Tarantino had this meeting with Travolta and seeing that Travolta was on board, he rewrote it for him.
I love Michael
and that's,
Madsen. but
That's one of my favorite things about Tarantino as well, is like him just being a giant movie fan. He has his ideas like John Travolta should have had a better career.
That's
Ooh,
pretty
now I
cool.
have some clout. I can make that happen myself.
And that's what I'm talking about. No one ever saw.
You know who Harvey Weinstein wanted? Harvey Weinstein wanted Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis,
Oh
yes.
my
Oh,
God.
my God.
Because he had just won him an Oscar.
He's too
Yeah.
tall. But it's like, turn it up to 11, Travolta. Do the craziest fucking weird accent that you did not earn. And somehow it works. I've never seen such a put on look. But like, he doesn't blink. He's totally in how insane it is. And there's no crack in it at all. I'm just like, I'm this guy exists.
Even
I'm looking at
Travolta,
him.
even Travolta's like, I don't totally understand why he thinks I'm the right guy for this role.
Until he did the twist.
But I trust him.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis literally would have lived life as a professional killer for 2 years. He would have shot the real Marvin in the face to get prepared for the role.
Wait till
And yeah, this was a major comeback for Travolta. Like it might be the Hollywood comeback, at least of the past 40 years, because he had a big run of commercial hits. This got him an Oscar nomination. I feel like right now people are hungry for a Travolta comeback. If you made like one good movie,
I'll take it.
He'd win an Oscar.
I pick on him. I don't want to have a beer with him, but I do want to watch him on screen.
And you know who should make that movie? Quentin Tarantino. Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson was a prolific stage actor in the 80s, but his career got derailed because of heroin and cocaine addictions.
Oh, wow. Why is he so tiny here? What is this a screenshot
This is from Jungle Fever, where he's playing a drug addict. And his first film work was with Spike Lee in School Days and Do the Right Thing. He's in Goodfellas in 1990. 1991, he goes to rehab, gets clean permanently, and then he plays a drug addict in Jungle Fever by Spike Lee from 1991. And that is a hugely acclaimed role. Wins an award at Cannes for it. And so he's like now this promising character actor. He's in like National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. He's in Jurassic Park. We were talking on our Jurassic Park episode earlier that one of the things that's special about that movie is Samuel L. Jackson's like the 13th most important person in there, but you can't ever stop looking at him. Right. Like, this guy's cool.
And it's a cigarette hanging out of the mouth.
And you know all his lines. Like he just steals the scene.
Every line.
Yes. And it is a nothing character. No, it is all because of him.
And that's exactly who Tarantino has a knack for finding. Are like, I need people to care about what this man's going to talk about. It's going to be an everyday thing. It's going to be totally just him and one other person. And if they can't carry it with just how interesting they are at their delivery, he can't use them.
He actually goofed up his audition for that movie. He like goofed up his audition the first time. Like he had to audition twice, I think, which Matt, you probably know.
So what happened? Yeah, what happened is, he auditioned for Reservoir Dogs and didn't get it, but then he ran into Tarantino like a year later, and Tarantino's like, "Hey man, yeah, I'm writing a part for you, man." And he's like, "Really? I didn't even know that you would remember who I was." And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, can't wait to work with you. I've written this great part for you." And he sends him the script, and he's like, "Wow, okay, this role he really did write for me. I can't believe it." And he went in to read for it, thinking he already had the part. And he said he just didn't have it that day, but assumed he already read the part, didn't know he was actually auditioning. And then, and I can't find a definitive answer for this, there's contradicting things. Samuel L. Jackson claims that Tarantino had him confused with Lawrence Fishburne.
I heard that too.
That he wrote the role for Lawrence Fishburne.
Shut the fuck up.
Which is a thing that happens to Samuel L. Jackson. And it's always funny how he reacts to it.
Okay.
But they're incredibly different actors.
Yeah. Extremely.
I cannot see Lawrence Fishburne. I mean, he's great. He'd have done great, but there's nobody. This is.
That was one thing I heard. I heard Lawrence Fishburne was like, he was looking for a lead role and he didn't like the fact that there was heroin being glamorized in his story.
Yeah. He didn't like heroin, and he didn't like, there's something else he didn't like, but Samuel L. Jackson asks for another audition, goes back, and he says now he's like really putting his all into it. And they're like, okay, this is the guy for the role, and this makes him a star, gets him an Oscar nomination. He's Samuel L. Jackson, and
he earned the L. He used to be Samuel Jackson, right?
All right, the movie was a big.
I look like a dentist with this fucking thing on. Okay, there we go.
Movie was a giant hit. Opened at Cannes in 1994. It was a sensation. It made $215 million worldwide.
I was thinking I look a little bit more like her. Was it Fat Bottom?
Fabienne.
Yeah, Fabienne. That's it. Fabienne. That's what I...
Got 7 Oscar nominations. It only won Best Screenplay.
Boo.
And in 1998, the American Film Institute called it one of the 100 best American films of all time.
Wow.
All right, let's talk about the movie.
Okay. Can you believe we haven't talked about the movie yet?
Jesus Christ.
Fuck. All right.